By the way, sorry, you're right. He's joining now.
All right, that sounds good. All right, call to order the November 15th meeting of the Gloucester Police and Courthouse Building Committee. The meeting will be held remotely, which means that all votes will be held by roll call. And the public, while not able to participate directly, can attend remotely, and every effort will be made to have them participate as if it were a live meeting. With that, let's just go down the list and introduce, do a roll call for those who are attending. And because we have some members who have been moved to non-voting members or advisory members, if you could just identify yourself as a voting or non-voting member as we run through, or if you're from one of our partners, just identify the location. All right, start myself. I'm Ryan Knowles. I am the IT director for the city of Gloucester and the chair of the Gloucester Police House Building Committee, and I am a voting member. Let's go to Chief Conley next.
Hi, everybody. Ed Conley, Chief of Police, Gloucester Police Department, and a voting member.
John McCarthy.
John McCarthy, and I am a voting member.
Scott.
Scott Lupker with CMS, non-voting member.
Chip.
Chip Highcamp, non-voting.
Let's see, Heidi.
Heidi Fiallo, Gloucester Police Department, patrolman, voting member.
Joe Balbo.
Good afternoon. Sorry about that. I am Sergeant Joseph Balbo. I'm a Gloucester police officer, non-voting member.
Joe Fitzgerald.
Joe Fitzgerald, Gloucester Police Department, non-voting member.
John McGonigal.
John McGonigal, WTH Company, non-voting.
And Sean Bushy.
Officer Sean Bushy, Gloucester Police Department, non-voting.
All right. So we have a quorum. We have 4 voting members that are present of the 7, which will allow us to take votes on all the matters that are before us. The first of which on the agenda is the review and approval of previous minutes. These would be the minutes from our previous meeting on October the 11th, 10th. Is there a motion to approve these minutes as they are included in the packet?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Chief Conley and a second by John McCarthy. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's take a roll call vote. Ryan Knowles, yes. Edward Conley?
Yes.
John McCarthy?
Yes.
Heidi Fiallo?
Yes.
The motion passes we have John Dunn, who has just joined, who is also a voting member. So John, we are just to bring you up. We have just taken a vote to approve the meetings from the October 11th meeting as recorded in the packet. And we are actually at you for a yes or no vote. John.
Yeah, and sorry I'm late. Yes.
So the motion passes with 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 absent. Moving on the agenda, we have second is a presentation and discussion regarding the current state of the project, anticipated next steps, and impact on the building committee. We have representatives from Doran Whittier, W.T. Rich, and CMS present. Let's start with Doran Whittier with Chip, who's here. Chip, if you want to give us any update on the design and architecture side.
Sure. We continue to work through items that are that come up on the site. We are found a number there, as you're aware, we have found some unforeseen conditions that we continue to work through throughout the building. And we've gotten through the bulk of those. working with WT Rich and CMS to kind of minimize those and vet all of those additional costs. That's kind of been the big push. Our team's been working with WT Rich and doing a great job on the submittal process. I'd say, we are winding down that. A lot of that material has come and gone, and we're in really good shape on submittals, on product submittals, on change order, or sorry, on RFIs. Again, just, a lot of stuff is coming up. We continue to work through it with WT Rich and CMS to, streamline that whole process. So all in all, that's going really well. And again, not much else to report other than, just, kind of moving through some of those changes. Everything else is in really good shape and anticipated.
Great. Thank you, Chip. Any questions or comments for Chip on the design or architecture side that he can field for us? All right. Let's move on to John McGonigal from WT Rich, which would be the GC. John, you should be able to, if you want to, I know you passed me something that you wanted to share. You should be able to share that document now.
Okay. I will share my screen. Okay. So yeah, this is October update. We did a similar one last month, so this will kind of be the standard practice going forward. But just what we kind of accomplished in October is just continued, with our demo and abatement. We had a lot more MAP penetrations to complete, so that was all done so that way we could start some of our rough work. Masonry work, as you'll see in some of the following slides, in the cell area has been completed. The detention frames are in. Obviously, we're going to wait on the doors until we get some more, finishes complete, but for that sake, those are all completed. Site work was started. The fire protection line that comes up through the Sally Port went in. We ran into a little bit of a snag with finding an unmarked existing gas line out in the parking lot where the switchgear vault was supposed to be placed. So we're working through those issues now and hopefully have a resolution before the holiday coming up next week. And we, started and, hit the ground running with some of our mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection roughing up on level 1 and then, moving down to the basement. Some other updates, we started the foundation work outside of the detention area where that new mechanical room is being built and secure vestibule. The transformer and generator pad work along the site has started. With the guys on site, we've tried to mitigate some of the delays that we've been hitting to, work wherever we can. So this is one of the things that we kind of accomplished in October. And then a lot of the rough framing in the locker room and, the miscellaneous walls that we're installing has been completed. And some photos. This shows the locker room here. The men's locker room. This is the nice soffit in the middle where all the lockers will be going. This is one side of the cell area. You see all these masonry walls have been completed with the detention frames. This is the new secure lobby. This is that half wall hard interview room over there. So we've got a significant amount of masonry work done, which was, really helpful. And then as you can see, just a quick snapshot of some ductwork and refrigeration lines in one of the VRF units that has been installed. And then, on a change order, we installed a whole new 3/8 inch plywood subfloor to be able to accommodate the new finish floor that goes down. And we also replaced some of the rotted plywood that we found when we removed the tile and carpet. And just a quick look of, the generator pad preparation where this is existing dirt pile over here. So that's all been removed. November look ahead. So we have some concrete work going on that actually started already. We poured the foundation wall and the footing. Next will be, prepping that area to pour the new slab on grade. Drywall, after we get our rough inspections, hopefully end of this week, early next week, we'll be able to start drywalling and taping one side. Just to, start really closing this building up and seeing some nice finishes going on. Site work, again, little bit of a hold up here with finding that unmarked gas line. But hopefully the resolution next week is we'll get that line cut back by the city, and then we'll be able to continue with the placement of the vault. And then continued MEFP rough. Definitely we got some more guys on site, which is really going to help us, push that schedule to try to make up any days that we can. And then just other look ahead tasks, just, continued documentation turnaround. Like Chip said, we're hopefully near the end of anything that we could have uncovered. So now it's just, closing out some of these PCOs, allocating costs, and then, getting the work started. As far as finance goes, about 19% done per our, requisition. Remaining billings a little bit over 11.5 million. We're expecting an uptick this month in requisition due to how many subs we have on site and being able to continue working with that exterior switchgear vault and some of the site work that was already owned. Contingency, we're still looking good on the CM side. I think, Scott, Chip, myself, and the whole team are, starting to discuss, how to use some contingency, how to use allowances that best suit the project finances. And, like I said, cash flow a little bit under our projections. Part of it's manpower, a large part is all the changes that we've found. Things with a tight schedule like this, big things can really slow you down. So we want to make sure that we're staying on top of everything. I think everyone here has done a great job so far of working quickly through changes and negotiating with subs and getting things approved and starting the work. But there's just a lot of things with an existing building that come up that, we have to deal with on a regular basis. So we're working as best as we can to, keep up with our projections and cash flow and also keep the project schedule moving forward. Change order wise, so we have 4 change orders that have been approved to date, just over 220,000. Change order number 5 is a little bit over 88,000, which would bring us just under 310,000 currently. As noted, a lot of existing latent conditions and omissions have led to a large amount of changes that we're currently dealing with, and everyone on the project team is aware of everything that's going on. No one's left out of the loop. And then to date, we have 64 proposal requests that have been issued and that we're currently trying to incorporate into the project. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you, John. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee for John, the GC? All right.
I just
Seeing
wanna, if I could, while we're on the topic of just what we just talked about, schedule and whatnot, and John mentioned the issue with NGrid, and so we had our solution, as John said, was to have the city come in and cut the gas line, and we got some good news today that we get a call from National Grid, and they're going to be out tomorrow to cut that dead gas line. So I was out there today, and Jim and Bill were going to be hopefully marking that out for the NGrid crew that will be there tomorrow, and hopefully that will John was saying that might be into next week that that gets done, but hopefully that'll be all resolved tomorrow. So and another thing, just on schedule, we have had some discussions with WT Rich over the last few weeks on where they're at with schedule, and they're showing roughly like a 10-day. They've lost about 10 days right now just due to some of these unforeseen conditions, but they have not. We're working together to try to resolve them. We don't really haven't been shown how it's impacted the critical path yet. So we are, again, it's sort of like cautionary, and we're tracking it and kind of working together to see if we can mitigate it. We have some allowances that for premium time and things like that. So we're going to try to you know, think outside the box and just look at the schedule holistically to see, you know, where we can, you know, not basically, you know, not have a delay. So try to stay on schedule. So I think with everything that we've seen so far, it's to be expected where we're at and the caution that we're given. So just wanted to provide some insight on that.
Scott or John Dunn here, are they taking that gas line completely out or are they just cutting it?
National Grid will come in and do the cut. They'll just cut it in place,
Okay.
and we'll have the site contractor pull it out of the hole and dispose of it. There'll probably be, you know, there may be a cost for that disposal. It'll, you know, it'll just likely just go into the dumpster that's on the site. It shouldn't be, it might not be a charge to us, or there might be a slight charge for it, but they won't
And
take
Grid
it
is
with
gonna cap it where, at the street?
it's basically right under where the new vault is that the switchgear is in and on
Okay.
top of. So it's yeah, it's right in that kind of that island right by between the two entrances. And it's about, yeah, I don't know, like 20 feet, roughly say 20 feet long section of just abandoned gas pipe that's down there. So and it's, like I said, it's dead. They came out a few weeks ago and tapped the line and determined it was dead.
All right, very good, thank you.
Any questions, just to go back, any other questions from the committee for John McGonigal from the GC side? We'll move to Scott in 1 second and have him, I think we'll have him present the project budget, I think, as it currently stands, so we can get a visibility on that, and then we'll actually just, as part of that, can transition right into the items 3 and 4 on the agenda, which are presentation and approval of the change order, followed by the new requisitions and invoices. Do we have anything further for John from WT Rich? All right, let's move to Scott. Scott, you should be able to present if you'd like. So maybe if you want to start us off with our current project budget and where we stand on that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, so overall total project budget wise, this is inclusive of the monthly bills that we presented and will be presenting for approval this month, and includes change orders 1 through 4 that were previously voted and approved. This brings us to 21.23% overall expenditure, which is a little bit more than obviously the GC or WT Rich is at 19% overall. In terms of contingency, we've, you know, with the change orders, 220,911. We have spent 220 or allocated 220,911 to change orders 1 through 4. We have another 88,000, I believe, that we'll be presenting for change order number 5 shortly. We're showing $1,126,000 remaining in owner contingency. And again, I think we have several PCOs that we have pending that we're reviewing due to many like unforeseen issues. Not necessarily, you know, completely out of what we would expect to see for a renovation project of this nature. So we're just managing those costs the best we can, and negotiating them as well with WT Rich between us and Doran Whittier, just to make sure that pricing is fair. And also, as John mentioned earlier, we're trying to look at what we have for allowances and potentially using some of those allowances for some of the PCOs, and as well as just making sure that the cost allocation for these PCOs are should be either owner contingency or CM contingency. So that process is ongoing, and we'll have another change order next month. We don't know what that is yet, but we're still working through the PCOs we have to see what we can get finalized. So a couple of those are a little bit bigger ticket items, so I would expect to have a subcommittee meeting within the next maybe 2-3 weeks to try to vote on a few of the larger ones. So any questions overall on where we're at?
Any from the committee, or are we good to move on to the change order?
Just one quick question. With the building now having been all gutted, the site work pretty much all exposed. Other than the ones you say you're looking at, are we pretty much, done with contingencies coming forward?
There'll still be, we would expect to still see a percentage. I don't know. It's hard for me to say exactly what that percentage is. A lot of it's the overall contingency that we carry. That percentage, is kind of front loaded with the renovation project. As we all sort of agree on the between WT Rich and Doran Whittier and CMS, we feel that the amount of unforeseens are going to go down, but there are still going to be probably some. I mean, we're still in the ground. We still have entrenched through, all to install all the, the site lighting and site, the site duct banks to the new vault. We have a change order to do that work, but if we hit something, if we hit an oil tank in there that wasn't on the plan, then that's obviously would be another unforeseen condition.
And there's
But
I would just add that, Scott, I was just going to add, so there's a chance we'll find some stuff on the court level too, as we, once we get more focused up there. But I think what Scott's driving at is in the next couple weeks or so with this site work, that's probably our biggest risk, would be anything in the ground that we can't see. Some stuff that we flagged on the first 2 levels, we can project that we might have that same issue on the court level and upstairs. So I feel like we're working through it. I feel like we're going to know more. We're always going to know more the further we get. And I think we're pretty close. I think we're going to have a pretty good idea. Again, the ground's the biggest unknown. Being past that in a couple of weeks from now, I think we'll have a pretty good projection on where we are. But there's always risk, but everyone's working to minimize it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for Scott from the committee?
I can move on to the change order if you'd like.
Yep, let's move on to the third item on the agenda, which is our review and approval of owner's change order number 5.
So here, that is. I'm sorry, I think it's right in here. Okay. All right, so let's just make sure I got the right one here. Change order number 5, total of $88,093. There's 11 PCOs included in this change order. I'll just list them off. We had cell flush button revisions for $7,500. We had the central records transaction window revisions for $674. We had stair concrete curb remediation for $4,500. Condensate line routing revisions for $2,435. Unit heater 1 revisions, $2,800. Electrical revisions. This is the Romex wiring that we ripped out with $23,272. we did this on T&M, just so everybody knows, and just to bring it back up, this was originally presented quite a bit higher. We were thinking it might be more money, but we think it was managed pretty well. So again, 23,272 for that. We're going to expect to see some of the same type of thing up on the courtroom level. Romex wiring that we'll have to take out and replace. PCO 41 existing valve replacements for this work's going to be happening Saturday for $11,783. This replaces all the old plumbing isolation valves throughout the building that were exposed, and some of them weren't working, some of them were just beyond their useful life. Door frame room 25 and electric room 039A wall opening revisions, just some minor kind of layout revisions, and a new frame for $1,800, almost $1,900. Room 124 wall abatement and build back, $4,800. Existing Sally Port column remediation revision, $16,633. This was the columns in the Sally Port. When they exposed them, there was some they weren't waterproofed, and there's some rust on the bottom. We had the structural engineer look at them, and they were determined to be, sound, but in order to make sure they last another 50 years or so, they needed some, to be cleaned up and waterproofed. So that's for that. And then this is the additional plywood, the last one here on level 1, which is that 3/8 underlayment plywood, just to get the floor all level and like a nice smooth finish for the finished flooring. And we obviously owned some prep there, so we still own that floor prep, but not to the extent that the existing floor condition was. So this is fully vetted, and we would recommend this for approval.
Do we have any questions from the committee for Scott on any of these PCOs that comprise this full change order? Scott, I had 2 questions on this. The first one would be for the first PCO, the PR15, the self-flush button revisions. So that one specifically was identified as an owner request.
Did I say that?
I think it says it in the packet that it was.
No, on the form, there was, so when we met, yeah, that I know it's partially true. There was, so we'd only planned for the flush buttons in the cell block, so all of them were accounted for in the cell block area, but it didn't, when we looked at it and we were reviewing the product information during the submittal process, realizing that how the difference between the cell block area and where the juvenile cells are, we re-asked the question and said, are you really going to go into your cell block to flush toilets that aren't in your cell block? So it's a little bit of an ask. It's a little bit on the design side. It could have been planned better. So maybe I should have checked 2 boxes on that cover sheet. In all fairness, I don't think it's exclusively an ask by the owner, but it was basically the end result is that you're going to have flush buttons where you need flush buttons, and it's going to be correct. So I'm happy to go and update that form, that cover page accordingly, if you wish.
Yeah, I think we'd just to have that clarified, just because it I don't actually debate the validity. I agree that probably you don't want to have to put into the cell block to flush the toilets, but I think we'll reflect that correctly on this change order.
No, that's all fair, and no, it's a good catch. Appreciate that.
And the second one is the PCO 48 for the room 124 wall abatement and build back. On on that particular one, it looked like from the email chain that, or the email kind of backup that was attached. Can you just clarify? I understand the wall abatement was there, but can you clarify that it sounded like the process of abatement resulted in damage, kind of irreparable damage to the wall. Is that what that one was based on?
You got that one, Chip, or me?
No,
can-
I don't think it was John might have some information on that. John, you want to go first and then I can
Yeah.
supplement after?
Yes, so the existing wall, somehow had like the ceiling panels that were in the firing range wall, those 12 by 12 acoustical panels glued on the wall.
Mhm.
So we basically had to,
Oh,
get
yes.
those off under abatement, and then when that happened, the drywall was just too worse for the wear, so we decided to just take off the whole thing, and then in that regard, we had to build everything back with with new drywall.
And at the time, it makes sense to have the abatement company do it while they're set up and contained in there. If we wait, it's like a second mobilization and setup. So it's kind of, you could potentially have looked at it like, well, maybe you could go over it or something, but when it's that beat up, it just makes sense to take it out. Then you can resolve any other issues that might be behind the sheetrock.
Just so that I'm understanding it, the sense here is that essentially that damage was unavoidable, though it was not something that it wasn't something that someone was basically I'm trying to get at is does this appropriately belong under the owner's contingency?
Yeah, because
I believe so. Sorry, go ahead, Scott. Yeah.
We looked at it. I'm sure our first push was to put it under CM contingency, and John, explained to us that, they couldn't have reasonably foreseen that kind of condition. So, so that's why it goes under the owner contingency. If they, if that was something that they had seen, then we would say it was there. You had, I mean, you have to look at it with what they could reasonably assume, and I think this one's fair where it is.
Yeah, Ryan, I can tell you from experience that wasn't done professionally. It wasn't done with the building. It was done after, and probably not done properly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I obviously trust the judgment. I just wanted to ask about that one in particular because it seemed like it had to do less with a unforeseen condition and more with damage, but it sounds like it was a combination between both. All right. Any other questions from anyone on the committee before we take a vote? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to accept owner change order number 5 in the amount of $88,093?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by John Dunn, a second by John McCarthy. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, let's take a roll call vote. Ryan Knowles, yes. John Dunn,
Yes.
Ed Conley,
Yes.
Heidi Fiallo,
Yes.
and John McCarthy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 absent. So let's move on to the next item, Scott, which would be item number 4 on the agenda, which is the payment recommendation letter for new requisitions for this month.
Okay, we had our typical 3 invoices. The first from Doran Whittier was $23,566.17. That was invoice number 159. We had WT Rich is application number 6 for $615,088. We had our invoice for $24,000, and we had what we're calling GPD reimbursable number 5 for $8,860. So just so everybody knows, this reimbursable in the backup was for Yankee testing. and we had a PO issued for them, but they were billing to us, and that's not, that's typical, that a lot of times we'll pay those bills and then submit them as a reimbursable, which is what started last month. And we didn't catch it in time this month. The check already went out. So going forward, we'll have Yankee address the bills to the city and reference the purchase order number. And I sent Lauren and Stacy an email just to give them a heads up with this application. So it's not marked up or anything. It's just a straight reimbursement. It's, and that should come out of that. I would think that just comes out of that that purchase order budget line item from this in the city. So we had a total this month of $671,514.17. Recommended for approval.
All right, do we have any questions about this month's recommendation payment from the committee? Right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve recommendation for payment of this month's invoices totaling $671,514.17?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we had a motion by John Dunn, a second by, I believe, Chief Conley. Any discussion? All right, let's take a roll call vote. Ryan Knowles, yes. Edward Conley,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
John McCarthy,
Yes.
Heidi Fiallo.
yes,
The motion passes 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 absent. Want to move on. I sent a supplemental. There were a couple of invoices that were for items that aren't part of the kind of full. They are included in the budget, but they were not part of the full contract. There were 3 particular items. And I think we will discuss those individually. We'll take votes on those individually because they're kind of discrete. So I just want to, do you want me to pull those up, Scott, or do you have them?
If you have them handy, you can pull them up. I was gonna, after you finish that, I have one proposal that I'd like to just bring forward for the case cracker system after this. Oh, you have it here.
Yeah, so I actually have it there. All right, so we have 3 items here that were part of the supplement. The first one is the one that Scott was referencing, which is the case cracker system, which is just a quote. So this one we would be voting on for approval to move to a PO that would allow them to essentially, order and purchase the system. This is through Hunt's Photo and Video. There's a backup below. And I'll let Scott briefly introduce this one.
Yeah, so Hunt's is a kind of local company. They sell the case cracker system, which is a interview system that consists of video and recording equipment. They're installed in the interview rooms, and these are very typical. We see these almost on all our projects. It's a really pretty easy to use system. It's network based, and it keeps track of I mean, I haven't used it, but I know that basically everybody pretty much every department uses the case cracker system. The pricing that they sent is consistent with what we've typically seen. This is for 2 locations within the building, and all the backup and I think it's it comes with a 3-year service contract, I believe, as well. So this is $27,870. We have it captured within our technology and security budget.
Any questions on this quote? I had just one, Scott. Do you know what my only question on this particular one? I know that obviously from the list that it's a widely used system. It looks like kind of standalone system, which I'm not necessarily opposed to. I was just wondering whether we should explore for because is this something that is under the kind of the overall contract with the GC, or is this a kind of separable item similar to like
No.
BC?
No, separate, it's outside of the contract and it's, I think it's, I wouldn't say it's proprietary, there are other systems, but, we had met with Stan, who is the, he sells this, and I don't know if they invented it or what, but they, he came out to the site and met with Sean and I and the chief, and about a couple months ago now. It's actually been a little while, and I think he gave Sean a demo of it, or offered him a demo. But again, I haven't used it. I just know that the departments like it. We've gotten good feedback on it, and there are some other systems. I can't off the top of my head think of what they are. Chief may know some other systems, but this seems to be the direction that everybody's going. I think like the state police has it, and he's got it in like 2,600 stations.
Mhm. So. Yep. All right. I mean, I'm okay with it. I don't, this is obviously a system that's going to be ultimately used by the officers on duty. So I don't really want to get in the middle of it too heavily, but I just was curious on whether this is proprietary or whether this is it's just a quoted system. But is there any other discussion or questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, we have a motion to approve a requisition and PO for the amount of $27,870 for Hunt's photo and video for the case cracker system.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by John Dunn, a second by Ed Conley. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's take a roll call vote. Ryan Knowles, yes. Ed Conley,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
John McCarthy,
Yes.
Heidi Fiallo.
Yes.
The motion passes 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent. Moving on to the second item, which is an invoice for $9,000 from WT Rich Company. This was for pre-construction services. I just wanted to double check on this one, Scott, to just ensure that this wasn't included at any point in a previous payment, like in the first or any earlier. It looks like it's from 2022, so it's from November 2022. So I would assume it's not, but I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't being captured elsewhere in a payment recommendation, like our first one, or in any kind of previous billing.
I have it in here for period ending, 10/5/22. There was I have it carried in the budget here, $9,000 under WT Rich, but I don't know that it's been paid. So I did not. Hold on one sec. Actually, you can give me 2 seconds here. Let me see here. I gotta.
I guess that based on the fact that WT Rich is asking for us to pay it, that it has not been, but
Yeah, we should just check with Lauren to make sure. She sent me a list of invoices recently that have been paid.
We
And
got confirmation from Stacy, I believe, that it hadn't been paid, and it's just like fell through the cracks for I think it was the last one of the series of those months, but we just hadn't got paid for it.
I got it open right here. There is a check number for a $9,000 on 10/5. It says that went out on 10/14/22 for. It was check number 143169.
yeah, so this one's from November 1 for the period of the invoice date is 11/1, so and due date was 12/1, so I would guess that that 10 whatever it is date may have been the previous months.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would guess that this is not something that has been paid.
Okay, yeah. All
All
right,
right, Ryan, we can, we can just act on this now, and I will take a look at the end of the meeting, but, it looks to me that it probably has not been paid, but I will verify that. If it has, I will let everybody know.
Right.
Okay.
Great. So we'll entertain a motion to pay invoice number 2022-02-4 for $9,000 to the WT Rich Company.
So moved.
Second?
And a motion by John Dunn and seconded by Ed Conley. Any discussion? Seeing none.
Just one quick question, Ryan, to John Dunn. John, is that a bill that's being paid out of the fiscal year? Does it have to go back to council?
No, it doesn't, John. So all the capital projects are just extend for multiple years.
Okay, thanks, John.
Yep.
Is that the invoice number I was referring to, the 9,000 was 20, it was, of course it went away now. It was, 202202-3. So it looks like, yeah, you're right. It hasn't been paid.
All right, so we had a motion and let's take the vote. Ryan Knowles, yes. John McCarthy,
Yes.
Ed Conley,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
Heidi Fiallo. We lose Heidi, or is she still here? I don't see Heidi. It looks like she may have dropped off, but we still have a quorum. So the motion passes 4 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 absent. Final invoice here is amount of $42,025.58 to BCM Controls Corporation. So this is issued. So that during the last meeting, we approved the issuance of a PO to BCM. We had a discussion regarding BCM being a kind of preferred vendor by the city for the Genetec system to install all the access control and security CCTV camera system there. This is a partial payment to BCM for the purchase of the control panels as well as their configuration and preparation for the site. So it's being drawn from the full PO amount, which was $313,206.01. So it's being drawn down by $42,025.58. Any questions about this particular invoice? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve invoice number 231-00203 in the amount of $42,025.58 to BCM Controls Corporation?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by John Dunn and seconded by Ed Conley. Any discussion? Seeing none. Sorry, someone have some. Right, seeing now have a roll call vote. Ryan Knowles, yes. Ed Conley,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
John McCarthy,
Yes.
and Heidi is absent. Motion passes with 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 absent. So that is all the scheduled items on the agenda for today's meeting. The only other item under number 5 that I wanted to mention was on Monday, Chip has arranged a visit to Beverly PD to view some of their finishes, their FF&E stuff in the site. Believe the paint colors, carpets, etc. I did want to extend the invitation to the members of the committee to do that site visit. I believe it is scheduled, Chip, is it for 11:30 on Monday? Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it is. That is correct. 11:30 Monday at Beverly. I sent out an invite earlier today with the address for anybody who needs it. And we'll just meet there at 11:30.
So our only limitation, obviously, is we need to be careful that we do not have a quorum show up there. Otherwise, we'll have to open a public meeting at the Beverly Police Department, which I'd rather not do. So if you are interested in attending that particular piece, please email me just to let me know that you are planning to or would like to, either one. Just so that I can ensure that in the event that 4 of us would like to go, that we don't again have an issue with a quorum that's shown up. So you just
That's just for the voting members, right, Ryan?
voting members. Yep. If you're a non-voting or advisory member, you can feel free to show up. You don't need to let me know. All right. Any other items that we can address before we adjourn? All right. Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by John Dunn, seconded by Ed Conley. A motion to adjourn. A roll call vote. Ryan Knowles, yes. Ed Conley,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
John McCarthy.
Yes.
Motion carries 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 absent. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ryan, thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Ryan, next meeting on the 12th, right? December 12th.
Correct. December 12th. Yep.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.